Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me and Arlene in FareHarbor, of course, for leveraging large-scale events to drive local demand. We're really excited about this topic today because for many regions, we've begun a peak season, and this summer really is no different. Well, it's a little different because we have some soccer or football coming up. Feel free to drop in the chat which one I should say. Is it soccer or football? I guess it depends on where you're at today. So we thought we'd share some insights in this next hour on leveraging large-scale events to drive local demand. We've tapped a great client here of FareHarbor's to share her personal point of view on thriving as a tour operation in Kansas City, which is a host this year for the 2026 World Cup. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll start with me. So my name is Rebekah. I am the manager of the FareHarbor community. And what that means is I'm the community manager at FareHarbor, where I work in online communities with tour operators all over the world, both on FareHarbor and off FareHarbor. I make sure I'm plugged into industry trends, and I also connect operators with one another and with the best res tech on the market, which, spoiler alert, is FareHarbor. And now the anticipation is over. I'd love to welcome our guest today, which is Arlene. And Arlene is the owner of Tour Kansas City, which connects guests with Kansas City, Missouri through culture and food. Arlene, welcome and thank you for being here today. Can you describe a little bit about yourself as well as your tour company?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Rebecca, and thanks for hosting this webinar for everyone. And I am the owner and operator of Tour Kansas City and the Kansas City Barbecue Tour. And we are a premier food, sightseeing, tour and events company. So we call ourselves the good time professionals, good food, good people, good times. That's what you call us for. And we practice a lot of community engagement. We want to be the Kansas City ambassadors. We're basically your go-to person when you come into town and need to be shown around.
Perfect. I'm excited to get out there this summer and take
I'm
one of
excited
your
to have you.
wonderful tours. We were
Yay.
talking about that off camera. I'm really excited.
Mhm.
It sounds like so much fun, and I feel like Kansas City has definitely seen a rise in tourism the past few years. You have that successful football team, the Chiefs, I think. I only know the Taylor Swift of it all, which I think has also contributed to the rise of tourism. And I'm really excited to hear about your point of view on how to capitalize on those things as well as the World Cup. So it's going to be really exciting. That brings us into our agenda today. So today we're going to talk through how to prepare for a major event coming to your city, attraction, or your destination, and how to make the most of that extra demand it can bring. I'm going to share a few strategies that operators can use to get ready ahead of time, from thinking through your inventory and your booking flow to making sure the right experiences are easy for visitors to find. Arlene will also jump in throughout the conversation to share her perspective on how she's preparing for the World Cup coming to Kansas City. So you're going to get both the strategy side of things and a real world, tangible operator point of view. Then we'll leave plenty of time for a Q&A. I'll have a few questions. We'll open it up to the chat as well. So whether your city is preparing for the World Cup, a big concert, what have you, anything that could bring visitors your way, we want this to be a useful conversation that helps you walk away with ideas that you can actually apply. So first we'll start with a poll. In a second, you should see a poll pop up on your screen asking you if your city is expecting a large event in the next year or two, whether it's a World Cup, maybe Bad Bunny is coming to see you. I saw him in Puerto Rico this year. That was really cool. The Olympics are coming up. I don't know a lot about the Route 66 anniversary, but that does sound fun. So
I kind of want to know more about Bad Bunny in Puerto Rico. Like that you can't just slip that one in.
it
And
was, well, one, it was actually, we'll talk about it a little bit. It was actually crazy that, like, obviously I went to the club and the streets were just pouring with people. It was crazy. And then the show was just insane. I was in like the nosebleeds of the nosebleeds. And Bad Bunny came all the way up there and like performed right in front of my face. It was crazy. He made it like everyone was in his casita. Like it was
I love
wonderful. It
that.
was so great.
He would make it welcoming for everyone.
Yeah, perfect. All right, let's see these results. So 64% of you say yes. That's really cool. 9% say no, and 27% say not sure. Your local DMC might have some information if you're not sure on what events are coming around. That's really exciting. Let's move on. Okay, so as any good coach will tell you, the best ways to succeed is to prepare to win. At least that's what my T-ball coach taught me. So we're going to go over exactly how to do just that. So global events equal local demand. So when we talk about that, the 2026 World Cup is a great example. More than 6.5 million fans are expected to travel across North America for the tournament alone, which creates a huge opportunities to host cities and the businesses in them. But this really applies beyond the World Cup. There's concerts, there's festivals. It can bring all these major moments that bring new visitors to your area. And as a tour operator, those audiences you can plan for and capture. What makes these audiences in particular very valuable is that we can predict a few things around them. They're often booking on their phones. They're working around a schedule that is easy for you to find. And they're not just coming for the event itself. They're also looking for ways to experience your city, the culture, and the destination while they're there. So the goal is to make it easy for them to find the right experience, that's you guys, and understand how it fits into their trip and book it quickly. And that's where a little preparation for the event can make a huge difference. Which brings us to our first point here is where can the fans find you? So now that we've talked about the demands that major events can bring, we have to ask ourselves where and how are those visitors actually going to find you? And essentially, the question we want to answer is how are you being crawled? And what I mean by that is how are fans and visitors going to search for things to do in your area, and how is your business search coming up in those searches? So they may be looking on Google, they could be asking AI tools for recommendations or searching for something really specific, like things to do around crypto stadium, for example. So we want to think about whether your website is giving search engines and AI tools like ChatGPT, for example, the tools to find that information, understand that information, and ultimately recommend your experiences. And that's where crawling and the AEO comes in. So I do have their definitions here on screen for those who aren't super familiar with that vernacular. Before your tours can show up in search results or AI generated answers, your website and your tours need to be easy to find, scan, and understand by these engines that have crawling capability. So in this section, we're going to talk through a few ways to make your business easier to discover, especially when visitors are searching quickly, comparing options, and making decisions on the go. So what I have on the right in this screenshot is when I Googled Kansas City, for example, since that's where Arlene is located, I Googled things to do in Kansas City in the world during the World Cup. And under my sponsored results, which as many of you know, typically a lot of people just kind of scroll past those. These were my top results. We have one here from Reddit, and then right under that is an influencer's post about things to do in Kansas City. So how can you rank there? How can you get in on that action is kind of what we'll talk about in the next few slides. So what's interesting is recently Arrival conducted a survey to see by income how travelers are discovering tours. And what they found was, and this was polled in the US, what they found was 35% of affluent travelers in the United States found their last booked tour from an AI search. For that same group, YouTube and travel sites came in at about 34% and Facebook at about 33%. For middle income travelers, Google search leads that at about 35%, followed by YouTube at 28%, and AI tools came in at around 27%. So the big takeaway is that travelers are not discovering tours in just one place. It's also social platforms, AI tools, and a lot of those things play into real conversations before they decide what to book. They're looking into all of those things. So one of those things we saw in that screenshot a couple slides ago is that second link was a Reddit, or second or third link was that Reddit community. And that's where public communities like Facebook and Reddit come in. So for those who don't know what Reddit is, it is a public forum made up of topic-based communities where people ask questions, share opinions, they recommend products, places, and experiences. Reddit communities, also called subreddits, are a user-created forum dedicated to a specific topic. So the one that I have on this screenshot is a subreddit, also called a community, Reddit community, called R Kansas City. And you can see in here it says what to do and where to eat in Kansas City during the World Cup. You don't need a Reddit account to view these communities, only to engage within it. You need to create a Reddit account. And most of these communities are public. And if it's public, it can be crawled, meaning search engines and AI tools may be able to find and learn from these conversations. So you can see in this example here on screen that this was the third result I found in my search when I looked for things to do around Kansas City for the World Cup. So when someone asks, what should I do in Kansas City before a World Cup match? Your website is super important, obviously, and we are going to talk about that with Arlene in a moment. But AI tools also look at real recommendations and local threads like you see here, as well as reviews, event pages, and community discussions to understand what people are actually saying about your city and your business. The goal isn't to spam the goal is not to spam these communities. Um, the goal is to offer like local expertise, give travelers and search tools more context around who you are, what you offer, and why your experience is worth booking. If you're a one-man show when it comes to your marketing, you can show up in these threads by searching on Reddit, similar to what you see here. So let's say I have a food tour in Denver, I could go into the subreddit of Denver food. I could go into the subreddit of Denver and I can search either by subreddit or I can search on Reddit as a whole of things to do in Denver, places to eat in Denver, and I can offer my favorite restaurants. I can say, I love the first thing that came to my head was Domino's. I love Domino's. I really recommend you can go over to Domino's and get a great slice. And if you want to try some other local restaurants, I'm a local business owner. I've lived in Denver all my life. I own this business. I'd love to show you around. We're family owned and operated. And then maybe after you can head over to Six Flags. It's also a great amusement park, something like that. It doesn't have to take a lot, but if you do want to do more than just the simple takeaways on this slide, contact your own marketing rep, or you can listen to the latest episode of Growth Powered by FareHarbor. I'll have a QR code at the end. We do talk about this kind of marketing for about 45 minutes to an hour, and it dives into things a little bit more when we have a little more time. So we'll also have room for questions at the end. So just make sure you engage naturally by giving your recommendations and shout out your company. And those are easily crawled and found via Google and via LLMs like ChatGPT. That's a large language model. The next thing you can do is TikTok and Instagram. And this opportunity is a little different than Reddit or public Facebook groups. Here, it's less about joining existing conversations and more about creating content that can be found, shared, and used as inspiration for someone's trip. For big events, itinerary style content tends to work really well. You can see an example here on the screen. It says Tour Kansas City World Cup bucket list. That's a very crawlable, SEO friendly text, both in the video and in the captions. Other ideas are like 48 hours in Kansas City, World Cup weekend bucket list, what to do before the match. That kind of content helps travelers picture how your experience fits into their plans. And if you're working with influencers, a good place to start is by searching the same way a traveler would. So, creators already posting about your city. Did my microphone turn off? Okay, my camera. Just my camera. 1 second here. Sorry about that. Cool. So where did we leave off here? Sorry, guys. There we go. So you can also look at who is already posting about your city, things to do, local foods, sports, travel, or weekend itineraries. And you can also look at city-specific hashtags. Look at everyone who's creating content around specific events. So you could even look at a hashtag like World Cup Kansas City. Arlene, I'd love to bring you in here. What has your experience been working with influencers, and what guardrails do you usually give them if you're reaching out or if they reach out to you?
So thank you, Rebecca. Great question. And we just had this experience. I don't know that we have spent a lot of time reaching out to influencers, but we definitely have had a couple come our way, including one recently in the past week, and some things that really refreshed kind of what I want to approach it as is what am I willing to trade? What was I willing to give? Afterwards, I was left wondering where I would find it. So all the handles, all the publications, all the places where it will be publicized, to get all that beforehand, as well as we have on our tour, we have no problem handing out a couple of tickets. I think as a business, you kind of have to decide what you're willing to trade or barter or give to an influencer. Don't bet the farm. It's okay. You don't have to bet the farm. You can politely decline. I would almost make sure you get all of that in writing, including who owns artwork and all different kind of copyrights and monetary exchanges in writing beforehand. Like I said, with us, we mostly just give out a couple of tickets. But I definitely was left with a couple of questions on this last influencer, just because afterwards there were things, oh, I should have asked before. Where am I going to find it? What's your handle? What am I expecting? How many followers? What does that reach convert to sales? Will it be bookings? This particular influencer did ask about kind of an affiliate program. If he brought us sales, do we provide a commission? And we actually do. So we might see him again, and that was fun. But I definitely thought of all the little questions of who, what, where, and whys, and what you're willing to give or do beforehand.
Amazing. And some quick do's and don'ts, just to kind of summarize a little bit of what Arlene spoke to here. So do be specific about what you're asking for. Be specific in what you're offering. Are you, like Arlene spoke to, are we giving away the cow, as she says? And what the final content should include. Do ask them to use clear, searchable language in the caption. You can provide that language to them. And include what you want in the video, like your city, the type of experience, and what event maybe you want to be mentioned there. Don't just offer a free tour and hope the content turns into something useful. And don't partner with someone just because they have a lot of followers. There's bot accounts, there's even just some people, as the kids say, fall off and don't have a lot of engagement. So just also make sure that their content actually aligns with your audience and your experience. Did I summarize that up okay, Arlene?
Yeah, that was perfect. And that last point was really important. And I'm glad you caught that. You want to make sure that the influencer and the person is influencing the right people. I mean, if I have a vegan influencer and I run a barbecue tour, their customers aren't really going to bring me much because they don't align. So just like you mentioned, just making sure that, luckily this influencer was a travel blogger. So, but yes, making sure that they are the right customers for you that these people will be bringing.
Perfect. Now we'll talk about my favorite subject, the website. So Arlene's going to jump in and we're going to take a look a little bit about the creative decisions behind her website, which she did build with FareHarbor. But I also wanted to give, before we jump into that, I'll give a little tidbit here about blogs. And this is actually brand new information that Google has provided to FareHarbor within the last few weeks. So I'm sure a lot of you on this call have heard in the past few years that blogs are really great for SEO. They can be, depending on how deep you can get into it, it can be a low lift or a high lift, depending on how often you publish. But when you do, here are a few things to consider. So the first thing is to include an author. This is what's been kind of new in the last few weeks from Google. In the age of AI, they find and will give more authority to blogs that have a listed author in the byline because it gives more, it has a more personal touch. It gives it more authority to them, a little more truth. So maybe it's by you. Maybe it's your reservationist. Maybe it's someone on your staff who loves their city and has a great insight on things to do. Stuff like that, just make sure to include an author, and this can be retroactive. So you can't, if you have a blog currently, you can go back in and add that author byline. Perfectly fine. Some ideas for blogs in the realm of a large event. What's the perfect itinerary for the World Cup in insert your city? So the perfect itinerary in Kansas City. You can target your blogs with different audience types. So you can do your family-friendly itinerary for XYZ, the perfect World Cup itinerary, the long weekend itinerary. Just make sure to include like the event, or you can even have a general blog if you'd like, but just make sure to include like the event if applicable and your city name. It adds additional trust before they buy as well. And that's the screenshot that I have here. So Arlene had the idea to add credibility to her tours by having a how to Kansas City page. Arlene, can you speak to a little bit on how you've leveraged this on your website?
Absolutely. I think when we were coming into the World Cup, we were almost shouting at the top of our lungs internally, trying to figure out how people can hear us separately from our competitors and from all the other attractions and options they have. And I realized that, the people I listen to the most are my friends and my close, trusted advisors. And they're always the one giving me little Easter eggs and giving me good mentorship. And so that's kind of what we wanted to extend that olive branch to our customers, that our how to Kansas City are little hacks. They're little things that only a local would know. They're not, corporately phrased. They're just like, hey, someone giving you kind of like some cool secrets about how to enjoy a particular place. And so we don't have really great transportation. So one of the things in there is like, hey, be sure to have an Uber budget or rent a car. You don't want to get your hotel next to the stadiums. You want them in town because our stadiums are actually outside of town. So there's some things that would really change their experience. And by doing that, we have created trust, we've created friendship, we've created a security with them even before booking. And it just leads them one more step to book with us versus with anybody else or whoever Google is recommending, because they don't know who is operating Google, but they can clearly see that we are operating here and we can be their neighbor, their friend right here, just from the get-go, establishing that point of view right from the get-go.
It's always nice to not feel like a tourist. Every time I go to New York City, I'm always like, dang, I really have that tell. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know the tips and tricks. So I do love this page, and it's something that's really crawlable. So that's another thing I love about your website. I have a preview of Arlene's website here. And Arlene, can you talk a little bit to the creative decisions of your website, why it was important to you to get this up and running before the World Cup, and maybe a couple of tips for our visitors today on what they should consider on their website ahead of the World Cup as well?
Sure. We really wanted to, our product is is pretty simple. It's bringing water to the ocean. We've got barbecue in Kansas City. So that's the product itself is very simple. Our real product is our quality and our hospitality. And we wanted to deliver that right up front, make the presentation real shiny and pretty with all the tools accessible that guide a customer to click right away, book with us, and know that they have that security of having a good time on their visit. And we communicated that with, well, we had some really great tools. We used local everywhere, local artists, local photographers, and then we gave them credit. We advertised local, local, local. These pictures were taken by our local newspaper photographer. These spots are local family-owned businesses. And we really put kind of a lot of our moral practices right up front, gave them to FareHarbor. And then I gave FareHarbor one rule: make it look like barbecue Disneyland. Now, it helped that our colors are already red and black and white. And so that kind of pops and stands out. And you guys just did a really great job in taking all those tools and putting them in that sandbox together. As far as technicalities, I wanted easy clickability. We are a high ticket price. A ticket for us, a couple of people coming out for us is easily dropping 300, 350 bucks. So these people want to feel security. I'm also going for probably a little bit of an older range. So I don't want it too busy. I want it very easily understood what they're buying, easy to click, easy to check out. Once I put too much on it, I really do see a difference. And I think that you guys did a great job of communicating that. We did refine our website with you guys just recently. We've taken purpose and passion first. Our drive has been showing people how we do things, our special way. I think as a business, you have to find what is the character of your business, what makes your business uniquely special in your industry. And then that's what you kind of communicate. And then we made it shiny and clean, or FareHarbor did. You guys made it really pretty, shined it up, and it just happened to be all the great elements displayed at once.
Yeah, it really is a great website. And one thing I wanted to point out that I really like, and we'll go this next section of the presentation, we'll talk kind of a little more FareHarbor specific. But I love that you have the search by date feature enabled in your integration. That is a big one to look in. A lot of you might have it done by default. So that is definitely a takeaway I want everyone to check is if search by date is enabled. What search by date is exactly what you should be seeing in this screen here. So it's part of your FareHarbor booking flow integration where the user or your potential customer, your website visitor, what have you, is able to search by the date rather than by the item to see what is available on the date that they're going to be in your city. So for example, if I'm in Kansas City on May 28th, Thursday, May 28th, I select that date as you see on screen, and I see exactly what tours are available. You are able to have whatever integration you have on your website, whether it's in your hero image or if it's on a particular blog or page for the World Cup or any other large event, you can have that as the default view for your customer. And it makes it that much easier for someone who's either in a rush or is limited on the window of time they're visiting your destination. It makes it that much easier to book. Imagine how many times you visited somewhere and you're just there for the long weekend and maybe we only have Saturday open in that itinerary. It makes it that much easier for someone to book. And as we all know, if you make it easier to book, you make it easier for them to give you money, which I think we all love money here, right? I hope so.
I
Awesome.
like what it
So
does. Yeah.
that's what I'd hope. Now we're going to talk a little bit about making the fans book with you. And the way you make fans book with you is making it easier than ever for the event audience to make that booking. So, we're going to talk a little bit about tailored experiences. And you're going to ask yourself, what do you have that could either be simplified or amplified? And Arlene will speak to this a little bit. I really want to give her time to talk about this tailored FIFA World Cup shuttle service that I think is so brilliant. But another idea is you are able to customize your booking flows. You can email support for this, or you can do it yourself in your FareHarbor dashboard. You can create a new booking flow with rebranded or tailored experiences that are perfect for the fans of your event. So maybe if I went to a football town in Europe over the summer, and it would have been great to be able to do a walking tour through like why is it so important? Why is this sport so embedded into the culture of this city? If that city was hosting the World Cup this year, that would be a pretty low lift for a walking tour to kind of rebrand, right? It doesn't cost a lot of money, doesn't take a lot of time. And you can have that as a tailored or limited edition experience. Alternatively, if you already have great tours that align with being Instagram worthy with the culture of your city, like that example of I go to Kansas City for barbecue, right? And Arlene has that all over. You can also just use those same tours, but with this booking flow page, it's all my tours that are less than 2 hours. We're not taking a whole half day out of your trip. Another example of this is when I was in Puerto Rico, East Island Excursions wanted to tap into the growth. Puerto Rico for FareHarbor clients, saw a 14% increase in revenue over Bad Bunny's residency. And one way that one of the tours I did tapped into that is they did make their tours a little bit shorter. And it was the same tour essentially, but it was a little bit shorter because they were seeing people wanted to do stuff before the concert. So they adapted to that quickly, and it was a super low lift for them. So you can create or rework your experiences to tailor to what your city may be known for, what's Instagram worthy, or what you can pump out faster, easier, but still has value to the customer. Arlene, can you speak a little bit to this FIFA World Cup shuttle service that you've launched ahead of the World Cup?
Absolutely. I think as a tour operator, if you have been operating any time before COVID up until now, you have known that adaptability has been like a really great trait to take on, just because opportunities are just that, and you have to kind of maximize them yourself. And so we're not in the party bus game. We don't really do a lot of shuttle rentals and shuttling services. That's not our forte. We don't have an interest in it. However, there is a need for it, there is a demand for it, and by every customer that I'm engaging by providing a shuttle service, I am also offering the or opening the gate to all our services, our barbecue tours, our sightseeing tours, our different museum tours. And so my creation, or our creation of the FIFA World Cup shuttle service, was actually not to really sell the shuttle service. It was just to get them to our page so that they could get lost in our wonderful world of other offerings and then book there. And it's worked out really well, because the shuttle service here in Kansas City is actually going to be quite competitive since the city is offering a free one. We were our goal was just to use it as another way of opening that conversation with these fans, especially if they don't already know about barbecue. They're international. They don't know about Kansas City. We're immediately extending again that olive branch of like, hey, this is something else that we can do. And then it's something we can do if they do book it and whatnot. If we create a form, we aligned it with the matches, and we route a couple of routes for it, so we're prepared. It's not going to take too much time out. We have the ability to kind of bulk the stops, and so the whole point is to kind of, the old school way of when places used to put up raffles and things. Obviously the point wasn't just for someone to win. It was really just to get hundreds of other people's wonderful input, information, or entry into that business or conversation.
And it's what you mentioned there, I want to highlight here. It's also the crawlability again. Because if I search FIFA World Cup shuttle service, now it's not just the shuttle service coming up. Now I'm like, oh, I could also do a food tour. And
Mhm,
we talked off camera a little bit that soccer fans are pretty big beer fans, and a beer fan is a pretty good food fan. And so you're
mhm.
tapping into that audience in that way as well. Was that kind of part of the strategy as well to kind of maximize the dollar spent by customers?
So, when you have a big event like this, I look at it as like you're going fishing and the dam is being open. We have 500,000 people that are going to come through. Are 500,000 people going to come on my tour? No. But if you go fishing, you can set up a few different ways to set up a fishing net. You know, you have the kind that just sit at the bottom of the bank and you'll check on them later. And you have the kind that, you're actually manually using a little pole for. And our approach of maximizing dollar per person versus hitting the masses, this was one of those ways of really tapping into customers that aren't already knowledgeable about us or our genres, as well as being able to encompass that mass kind of crawlability that you're talking about. If everyone's talking about FIFA, you do have to play the game to win. So, I mean, we got to be included in some of it. And so, this really kind of was a little bit of a pivot. We've never really changed ourselves for us, and we're not, but we are offering what we would be neighborly. Again, it's whatever. I look at it from a customer point of view. What am I looking for when I'm shopping? As a customer, do I want I'm looking for transportation, I'm looking for food, and if I have all those things available and I can package them neatly for you, why not? Yeah, it might change the original package that I had, but with all the available add-ons and clickability through, I think that it helps us win over customers with that trust, with that friendliness, with that extra service. They also feel pampered. You're spoiling them, so we've got everything. We're the one-stop shop. You don't even have to talk to anyone else in Kansas City except us. And so by creating kind of that ambiance through our website, through some of these services, you get a wet towel on fancy flights. Does it mean that you scrub down with it? No, some people don't even use it, but it was nice to have it. And so that's what
Yeah.
our shuttle service was.
That's a great segue into the FareHarbor features that can support you and our other clients. You said one-stop shop. So that brings us to what can FareHarbor features do for you with the principles that we talked about in this section. So one thing to be that one-stop shop that can be super helpful is our combos, cross-sell combos, and our packages features. So with these features, you can make it easier for guests to book a fuller itinerary instead of just one activity. For a major event, that could mean pairing two of your own experiences together, packaging a short city tour with another popular offering, or working with another local operator that's on FareHarbor to create something that feels like a complete day out. Again, one-stop shop, maximizing the revenue of that customer that you've already captured. And you can look up information on that in the FareHarbor Help Center. We also have at fairharbor.com/blog, we have a ton of examples as well. And if you're in the FareHarbor community, I have a video demo of this feature as well. What I love about these things is it's helpful because visitors may not know your city very well. They may be looking for an easy, ready-made option that fits around their event schedule, and combos or even making a pre-built package can help reduce the amount of planning they have to do. And it's an extra layer of, wow, I have this perfect day planned out for me, and it's especially made for the time limit that I have around attending some World Cup matches. Another thing that you can try if you haven't already is the FareHarbor Dock, which is great for high traffic if you get a lot of foot traffic at your location. Dock is FareHarbor's point of sale solution built for tour and activity operators, and it can support walk-up bookings, in-person check-ins, and it has a kiosk mode that can give guests a self-service option to book activities, sign waivers, check in, and pay on site, which can help reduce lines and it keeps things moving when you have more visitors coming through. So, whether you're trying to sell ahead of time through the tailored packages or manage more people on site with faster check ins, grabbing people just walking by looking for something to do, these tools can help create a smoother experience for both your team and your guests. Arlene, before we move on to the Q&A, I was wondering what are a few features or one thing that you like about FareHarbor? What do you use these days?
So I've actually really been enjoying a couple of we've got a couple of add-ons that we've been enjoying with really selling the right products to the right customers. You know, some customers have extra budget to spend while some are on a budget. And if they're on a budget and they just want to buy the tour and that's it, then we want to make them feel wonderful for that. And everyone else that can afford the koozie and the t-shirt, we want to make sure that that's being offered and that it's engaging. But I also really love the pay now feature that I can add to every reservation. And the reason is because I know as operators, we like to get our money up front. We want the booking to be paid and be done. But we've gotten really busy. And even though we did staff up, we're getting to a point where maybe I might have to be grabbing a call and I make an estimate or a bid for a quote and I can send them through the mobile app, the FareHarbor mobile app, a reservation. Now, the key point of sending invoiced reservations is to give them an expiration. A lot of operators are like, we don't like invoicing people because it never closes a sale, always be closing. But the difference is you got to give them a time limit. It's the same as having a timer on the book out. And the timer on a book out gives me anxiety. But if you give me 24 hours to think about it and I know that I have 24 hours, then I'll make my decision in 24 hours. Because customers generally already know if they have the money to spend on it or not. They're just deciding on whether it's worth it or not. And so you have to know your worth, know your value, and ask for it. Ask for that payment. And so sometimes when I'm out busy, I can send over that estimate. They'll go ahead. I'll give them usually 3 days. We give them 72 hours, and then they can pay now. And then it's confirmed. It's done. I don't have to go back and confirm the booking or anything else. And I think my favorite feature about FareHarbor is that it works. It works. We've gone through a couple of other operating softwares and the functionality has to work. And we've had moments when you're in event planning, sometimes it's either really quiet all at once and then the circus is up all at once. So having every operation smoothly doing its job really helps. It really does. Sometimes sending an invoice can be a huge hassle if that system didn't provide for it and we needed to send out a $10,000 invoice to a client and now their accounts payable is leaving for vacation and this and
Yeah.
that. It's always Murphy's Law on those little glitches.
hmm
The fact
And
that it
for
works,
public buyouts, or for private buyouts, excuse me, if you're doing like an event, we also have our private events feature, which
yeah,
has a pretty easy invoicing user experience as well.
yep, that's what we use a lot.
Yeah. Amazing. Great. Well, now I'm going to head as people kind of put in their questions in the chat. I know we have a couple. I'll lead with my first question specifically to Kansas City. Have you noticed what are you seeing like specifically in Kansas City right now? And how has that differed from the previous spikes that you've seen in your city? What have you been doing? What have your peers been doing specifically?
So this is probably about our third big event because Kansas City's been trending since COVID. You know, we've had World Cups and then Taylor, as you mentioned, and so we noticed with the draft and we noticed with big events, corporate has a big hand on their programs and where they're going to be sending people and that engagement. And you can start early on and try to reach those in. We didn't go that avenue. We wanted to be the local director, so the traffic controller. Essentially, what we're seeing now are semester finals. The people who prepared are prepared, and the people who didn't are now panicking and squirming. Kansas City is like on the edge of its seat, slightly panicked, slightly not. just because it's anticipation. We're only a few weeks out. We've built this up for years now. We've reconstructed roads and everything. So everyone really would hope it would pay out. I know us as a business, we have chosen not to overinvest. We have actually just done everything we do bigger and better, big jazz hands. You know what I mean? So we, reached out to our local networks and our local businesses that we work with. And we were like, hey, what do you want to offer? What do you want to collaborate with for this World Cup? And we helped kind of come up with some cost friendly ideas there. We invested in making ourselves shiny, both with our website and our buses. And then we made ourselves available as the the coddling concierge. We are the one holding your hand. If you can picture yourself traveling in a bustling group and then one person reaches out and grabs your hand and pulls you out of that crowd, we're being that person. And through all those little olive branches, instead of trying to be louder, we're just trying to do ourselves better. Most of, if you own your own business, you probably did it your way. It's because you wanted to be inventive and do something your way. And so we're just doing that bigger. And you guys helped us facilitate. I can't control I mean, we can through all the technicalities, but sitting at our desk, I can't control who sees me on Google. That's all through SEO, AEO, FareHarbor, you guys, everything else. That's all the systems put in place. What we can do is be available, be ready, and that's what we are. We were determined to make it a good year no matter what. And it's because we're just doing everything we already do, just more.
Yeah, that's a great segue to our first question here from Angela. I think this one's for me about Reddit. Reddit says to add expertise authentically. Does that mean to post as the business or as a person, then mention that we are associated with that business? If you're doing the low lift of like I said, you're a one person show of your marketing team, then you would do the former. So I'm a person who's recommending X, Y, and Z into this particular Reddit community on a existing post, like what we saw on the slide. What should I do in Kansas City during the World Cup? I'm hopping into that thread and authentically saying, I love doing this museum. I love going to this restaurant. And I am a locally family run business and I do food tours and we'd love to have you. Feel free to DM me or if that's what you want to do. Or you can find us at this website. Reddit wants you to participate authentically. It will flag if you're spamming communities. What does spamming communities look like? I think we've all kind of been a victim to this at one time or another when someone's really trying to sell us something, right? It's just you have a trend of going into different subreddits or communities on Reddit and only providing a plug for your business. And that's why I said if you want to do the low lift, participating authentically is doing what I said, just offering your business authentically with a few other recommendations. Whereas if you wanted to create a business account, create your own subreddit where you maybe, let's say I'm a botanist and I do mushroom tours, where we forage mushrooms. Maybe I have a subreddit that I've created that says in the subject, I'm Rebekah or I'm foraging mushrooms by Rebekah is my subreddit. And in that subreddit, I post a ton of stuff about foraging mushrooms. And I explicitly state in that community in the description that I'm the owner of this business. That's all SEO. That's all AEO. That will be crawled by ChatGPT. That will be crawled by Google. That's a great example of if you have the time to do that, or if you have a marketing person on your team, you can talk about that. If you're particularly interested in grabbing that 35% of affluent travelers who are utilizing large language models like ChatGPT to book their tours, that is the way to do that. Reddit and YouTube are the number two, or are one and two on what ChatGPT scrapes to find the information that you get. So that is, great for getting authentic recommendations, along with Google reviews. Obviously, we never want to forget about reviews in your website as well. That's just an additional layer. Um,
Rebecca, can I ask a question on that, on what you're talking about here?
sure.
Um, do you have an expertise on whether posting and commenting as an account user versus paying for ads in Reddit? Is it valuable to pay for ads in Reddit?
It can be valuable to pay for ads in Reddit. I would say that's something that you can ask your ads person. You can ask that if you have someone that you have like a third party or someone on staff who does your ads. That's what I would ask them. Hey, do you think my audience is coming from Reddit? If you don't have an ads person, go into your Google Analytics account and see where people are coming from. Is it lucrative and is it worth your time to set up an ads account in Reddit, looking at the cost and the average rate of return on those ads? That's where you would ask yourself. I personally do see that a lot of tourists are on Reddit looking for recommendations. As we said, Arlene, no one likes to feel like a tourist, right? And that's why operators are what I think are going to only see growth in this age of AI because we want connection now more than ever. And that's where tour operators come in. So
I
I
just,
would recommend,
I'm
go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead. No,
So I
I
would
know that
recommend,
I know that I'm typically either commenting late at night as an author, kind of as you're recommending, but I was wondering about ads. I was wondering if there was a huge leap or difference to ads.
absolutely. That's a great question. I see a lot of success with B2B businesses on Reddit. Um, I don't have any anecdotal experiences in the communities that I'm a part of online and the tour operators I've talked to on
Okay.
doing ad campaigns on Reddit. But if you're in the FareHarbor community, it's fairharbor.com/community. Again, that's fairharbor.com/community. I keep everyone up to date on what I'm seeing on marketing strategies. We have another question on that. How can I get my guests to post about their experience with us? I want to lead them to a certain subreddit. My guests always ask how they can support us, but can I do this in the automated message asking them to review us after their tour? I would say, Elizabeth, that is a big ask to ask a customer who's on a tour with me. What I would prioritize in that format is you can say, I would love, it's pretty easy to make a QR code these days. Here's a QR code. If you could post about us in this Reddit about how much of a great time you had, certainly could do that. That would be an easy way to do that. But I personally would continue to prioritize Google reviews and TripAdvisor reviews. That is also scraped and it's much easier and palatable for your customers to do that. They've done it before, they'll do it again. I would still prioritize reviews in that particular situation. At least at the time of this recording, I would still be prioritizing reviews at the end of a tour. But that is a really great question. Um, let's see. Someone asked something about blogs, I thought. I want to make sure I'm getting everyone's questions here.
Can you show
Can
some examples of good blogs?
I can't show it live on this, but I can say a few blogs that I've seen. There is a great gondola company out in California called the Gondola Company. Shout out. And they have a great blog strategy. And they post around holidays. So here's how to plan the perfect Valentine's Day for your sweetheart. Here, the perfect champagne package for New Year's Eve, stuff like that is what they post on. They also make posts anytime they're being featured by their local news station, which you would think would be kind of hard, but I'm the daughter of two business owners, and my dad is on the local news promoting his business for free at least once a year. So there is sometimes a dip in the news cycle in which they want to highlight small business owners. So that's something you could also look into. And then this particular business will repurpose that and put it into a blog. I have also seen operators highlight when celebrities come on. And a lot of these celebrities that take these small businesses tours want to highlight these small businesses. They want to help. So typically they do give their permission. Yeah, feel free to post this on your website. We want to help you out. And that also helps with SEO and is a really fun blog of who's come to visit us at XYZ company. So those are all great examples of blogs. And then, of course, as we saw in the presentation, How to Kansas City is also a great example. Or another way to do that would be like the tourist guide to Kansas City, how to explore like a local in Kansas City during the World Cup. Those are all very crawlable, searchable, and also great tags for social media as well if you wanted to either do like a little slideshow or a video on those things. We got about 4 more minutes together. Did I miss any other questions? I don't think so. All right. Well, just in case anyone else comes in with any other questions, I do, as promised, have a QR code for the FareHarbor podcast. On the podcast, I have on, similar to today, our most interesting and successful clients on our platform. I also have some industry experts on. So we talked a lot about Reddit strategy today. We talked about AEO strategy today. The latest episode that I published talks about that extensively, along with other things like influencer partnerships, affiliate partnerships. Get Your Guide comes on one episode and talks about the best way to rank on Get Your Guide as well, and how to have the best type of listing on their platform, with more and more operators added every month. So if you want to follow it, that's here. If we don't have any other questions, Arlene, I want to thank you so much for coming on today. Your personality, your insights are all so deeply appreciated. I had a great time with you today. Any final points to send off our visitors today?
Thank you, first of all, Rebekah, for all the wonderful information and hard work you've put into giving us informational and educational tips here. It helps. I think we can get a little burnt out. And I think, remember, burnout is just not hearing your appreciation. The only reason we feel burnt out is because we don't feel appreciated. So sometimes you have to remind yourself that.
Yep,
And so it's all those passions and quirks that drive us a little crazy. Those are probably the same things that are making us really special and wonderful. And I think maybe my best note is probably, do you, not stop trying to outdo everyone else. Just do the better version of your business, because
absolutely.
it's yours. And I think no one can imitate, and we can't create another Rebekah Costley yet. And so until the cloning process is perfected, our uniqueness is still, it sounds corny, but it really is still going to be what sets apart, especially in such a robotically crawled world.
Yeah.
Having authentic personability. Hey, I'm just a business owner. Come check me out. Da, da, da. Like, it's almost the simple and frankness is actually winning the game. So that, at least that's
Exactly. Yes, Arlene, I can't wait to take your tour. I've been looking at that burnt end tours like I'm a hard eyes emoji. I can't wait to take that tour with you and meet you in person. To
yeah.
everyone who joined us today virtually, thank you so much. I'll have some takeaways and resources from the session in the FareHarbor community at fareharbor.com/community. But until next time, I hope you all have a great day. And again, thanks for joining us today. See you later.
Thank you. Bye bye.